All right, well, welcome in, you guys. Today in the apparel decorating world, we would suggest that your digital vendor is a key part of your success. You look at the show floor here, there's a myriad of digital options out there, Rob. And I guess the thing we wanted to talk about is, are we asking the right questions? Are the questions that we're asking when we're talking to folks in their booths, are these the right questions that are going to help us? We've kind of been there. I think you've been there. I know I've been there. Kind of looking at the wrong things. And I guess at the end of the day, if your bottom line's not growing, then what's the point, right? So for you guys out there, we're excited. Want to make this. We'll ask questions and do all that kind of fun stuff throughout this. So anything you want to add to welcome?
Yeah, and we'll talk about this in a minute here, but this is a topic that's important to me and one of the foundations of why I started American Print Supply. And the history and the horror stories I had leading up to this. So I think I've got some interesting perspective on this, and this is why we wanted to talk about it to the audience here today.
Absolutely. All right. Well, so there's us, Rob. I'm Aaron, and Rob, I'll have you tell your kind of entry story here in just one second. But curious for those of you guys that are here sitting in the audience today, who's already doing digital decorating? Raise some hands. Okay. Couple, not digital decorating yet. So, all right. Well, who do we got here? What do you guys? What do you do? What kind of decorating are you doing currently?
Me?
Yep.
So we're not doing any decorating.
Not doing any decorating yet. Okay.
Not doing any decorating yet, but we print for the city of Birmingham, so we would be looking into vertical integration for, apparel.
Very cool. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Rob, you want to chat with them over there? Sorry.
I'm the runner.
What are you guys doing?
Hi, we work for Disney and we're in the costuming department. So specifically entertainment buyers. So just looking
cool.
at printing applications,
Yeah.
Digital and
Love
then
it.
3D
Okay.
for our costume pieces.
All right. That's awesome. Okay.
Very cool.
Very cool. So that and I appreciate you guys doing that. It helps us kind of ask the right questions and.
I work for a supplier now, Sanmar. We supply wholesale clothing and accessories, but I was a digital technician for 15 years, worked for Roland.
Awesome.
I worked for Ink Cups on the UV side, so very curious as to what you guys have to say today.
Awesome. Yeah, we love Sanmar. We've got Sanmar samples in our booth, so awesome. All right, well, so yeah, my journey in this industry, I've been in this space for about 25 years. Started in the screen print world, color separation software to be specific, got into direct to garment back in the early days. And I've just loved the process, sublimation, all of the different digital processes has been a true love of mine, from all the way into these full cut and sew type sublimation programs. So Rob, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your journey quickly.
Yep. So born and raised in a small town in central Illinois. I did the Central Illinois thing to do, which was go get an engineering degree and go to work at Caterpillar. So that's kind of where my origin story was. And I did that for a number of years, but all along the way, I was more entrepreneurial at spirit. And in 2014, I got involved with Shopify in the early days. And at the time, we actually set the record for most sales in the trial period, and we didn't even know how to make the product. We found an opportunity online on a forum, and we posted some stuff, and we had about $40,000 in sales in less than 24 hours. No idea how we were going to make the product. And luckily, we came across dye sublimation. And at the time, I had no idea what it was, and there wasn't a lot of information out there. And we found a couple of different vendors doing it. And so we figured out how to make the product. And luckily, we were able to fulfill those orders, get them out the door. And that kind of set me down a path of, wow, I love this digital aspect here. And I also love the e-commerce piece of it. And so the marrying of those two things was like incredible to me. It was, hey, this is the future. And I really wanted to be a part of it. So along the way, I was really just supporting the brand. And I kind of decided, hey, I'm in manufacturing. I know manufacturing. Let me get into t-shirt manufacturing. So we started doing dye sublimation in our garage. And we were just doing all over print. I actually developed my own lathe flat blank, so we didn't have to do any sewing. It was a completely digital process. The orders would come in. We'd manufacture it on demand. And I just had two guys there in my garage pressing shirts, hundreds of shirts all day, every day. And it worked out great. but also had limitations. We were limited to t-shirts. I wanted to expand. So I got into cut and sew. One day I just decided, hey, I'm going to take the crazy pill and go do pretty much the hardest thing in garment decoration, which is digitally printing on fabric, cutting it out, and then sewing it together. So I had no idea what I was doing.
Look familiar.
And got a bunch of sewing equipment, found some people that were crazy enough to come to work with me, and we figured it out and didn't look back ever since. So these jerseys we're wearing here are 100% USA made, and that's a product of American Print on Demand that we do there in Central Illinois. We've been doing that since 2017. And the reason this is all pertinent kind of shows the progression and why I'm so passionate about the digital technology. I don't want to ramble about myself, but I think it's an interesting storyline and arc which plays into what you want to look for in a digital vendor. So
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff I had to figure out on my own along the way. And there wasn't, any book I could just go get and say, hey, do step 1, step 2, step 3. Luckily, coming to the shows like Printing United here, that was a catalyst for me to bump into the right people and really propel me along the way. And I could say, without question, had I never attended a show like this and ran into some of those people that really were good vendors, I never would have got to where I am today. So for me, vendor selection is very important. And then how we ended up with DTF and American Print Supply. I mean, basically what ended up happening, I was early adopter of DTF. I love the technology. I said, wow, this is a paradigm shift for anything digital. Pandora's box is going to open with this. So I went out and tried to source a few different things, including from a vendor here in the United States. And unfortunately ended up being a very poor experience for me.
Walk us through that experience. I think it's a hilarious story.
Yeah, so triggering some flashbacks here. But basically, I was promised a certain timeline, kept no communication, kept getting extended out, and this went from less than 30 days to about 4.5 to almost 5 months. Which I understand supply chain can be difficult, but the lack of communication was the biggest part. And even if the answer is, hey, I don't know, or it's going to be 90 days, at least that's something, but I couldn't even get the basic things from it. So finally, when my boxes did show up, almost 5 months later, no documentation, no paperwork. It was just a couple crates. Okay. Struggled to get an install date. Finally got an install date on the calendar. And the install technician, I'm going to use air quotes on this, showed up. And it's like, all right, who's got a screwdriver? So I basically ended up uncrating it, installing it, and doing it all myself. And really kind of learned the licks on my self install that I paid to have installed. And
so there's the first question you asked.
Yeah.
Do your installers have screwdrivers? All right. So
do your technicians come with screwdrivers? So yeah, it was a really painful experience, but also propelled me to say, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here. This just shouldn't be like this. We need that white glove experience. And again, why I'm so passionate about selecting the right vendor. And hopefully we can instill some of those questions to build that confidence for your selections in the future.
Yeah. So as you see on the screen up here, your vendor isn't just selling you a printer, right? If they are, then that might be a first place to start. They're shaping your workflows, your costs, your future profits, right? So you want to kind of look at the entire picture. And I think for a lot of us, me included, the first question that I would probably ask, walking into a booth is how much, right? Like I think that's kind of our knee-jerk reaction is, we want to know the dollars, all right? And so, how much is it? Maybe getting into, how fast is it, right? How about, what colors can it hit, right? Okay, now we're getting a little bit deeper. This is good, but we're still surface. How much is the ink, film, and powder? Right now, it's a little consumable costs. But I think some of the challenges with this, Rob, is we're not getting the whole picture here, right? So if I actually go back one here, how much is it? Great, that's a good starting point, but how much does it cost you to operate? Right? How fast does it print? Well, you can show me how fast it prints, but what's the quality like when that is printing at that speed and whatnot, right? So we start getting into some of these deeper questions. Any other questions? I don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but I do want to put you on the spot here. Like, what would be a question that you would ask a vendor? So, Rob, thank you. Appreciate you being the runner there.
As a tech, my first question would be, how many techs do you have and where are your locations?
All right. So you come up here. You're on stage. No, I'm just kidding. And then Rob, sorry, one more down here. Yeah, you weren't already going to get your steps in here pretty united. So
I don't know how long will the quality last? How long will the color saturation stay?
yeah, washability kind of things, right? Yeah, good stuff. Awesome. So the idea we're trying to get across to you guys here, and where you guys have a pretty good understanding of this, is let's get into some deeper questions, right? So what does service and training look like after the fact? All right, because it's one thing to, even if your tech does have a screwdriver,
Yep.
right?
Does he know how to use it?
Does he know how to use it? There's a good starting point. But the next phase of that is like, does he understand the apparel market, right? It's one thing to understand the inkjet printers, the digital technology, but we've got to make a profit on the other side. And so if they don't understand that side of it, because, okay, great print, got to transfer it. Are you getting the training? Are you getting that service and support after the fact?
Yeah, really is your digital vendor, the great way to frame it is your digital vendor just trying to push you a box, or they're trying to push you a solution? And a solution is not just the box, right? There's so much more to it, right? Because anybody can ship you a crate and show up without a screwdriver. It's what is the comprehensive solution on top of that? And it's not just service and support, like Aaron's going to flip through here. There's so much more depth to it, and really things to start thinking about when you're looking for the right digital vendor outside of just the basic price and product.
Yeah. Because you start, okay, what are my real consumable costs, right? Like that's another good question that I think worth getting deeper into, because yes, how much is ink, film, and powder, for example, with DTF, or how much is my ink in a sublimation?
Cost per square foot.
Cost per square foot.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But what's the real cost of that, right? How much spoilage is there, waste? What about any maintenance that has to be done? So we can start getting into some deeper questions here. Again, where are parts located? If, like in Rob's experience here, it took him 5 months to get a printer that he was promised in a couple of weeks. Well, what happens when he needs a part? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if anyone's selling you on, this thing doesn't break down or it won't need replacement parts, that's a pipe dream. Equipment is equipment, right? And mechanical stuff, it has maintenance items. It also has failure points. We like to say, hey, what happens if lightning strikes? Well, we literally had a customer, one of our guys, Sean, he's been saying it for 2 decades. You never know when lightning is going to strike. And finally, we had a customer that happened. Lightning struck, hit their computer, arced across the RJ45 line onto the printer, which is the communication line, and basically blew the board. So she called us up, all upset, no idea what happened. Well, hey, we had a big storm last night. The machine power's on, but it's not communicating. So a couple hours of diagnosis. And we said, looks like your main board got hit because the RJ45 port on your computer is all black and charred, had arced across, and a little bit of troubleshooting. We overnighted her aboard, and she was up and running the next day. Walked her through it, and we did it all completely remotely. So that's the type of thing you need to look for in a vendor is, do they have the access to the parts, and can they get them when you're down? Because ROI includes uptime, right? If you're a high volume business, 2, even 3 shifts, uptime is a key and important. Can I run, 2 shifts a day, 6 days a week? That's got to be factored into the equation.
Yeah. So again, along the same lines, right? What happens when something breaks in the middle of the night? That type of thing. What is the response time? Right. So, one of the things that we do at American Print Supply is we've got people that answer the phone in fact, some guys might step away from the booth for a moment to answer a call if we need to, right?
Yeah. It's not just, what is response time, is who and where, cause we've seen the advent of chatbots, which is okay in certain applications. Something as technical as a digital printer vendor. I don't want to talk to a robot or AI script. I'm sorry. It's not a t-shirt website that I'm buying a t-shirt and I have a couple questions about sizing. It's a very complex thing. So who and where, is it real people here? Do they run the equipment? Do they understand the equipment? Because it's one thing to set up a piece of equipment. It's a whole nother animal to actually run it, be in the trenches, and have years of experience running that equipment. And that's how you know you have a true technician, when they can proudly say, yeah, I actually own the same equipment. I run it in my garage on the weekends type thing, or my wife runs it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things we've seen in kind of the explosion of digital in general, I think across the board, but, I think it's really magnified with DTF coming on, is there's a bit of hype, right? And so we want to kind of maybe try to decode some hype with you guys. Unlimited tech support. I think we've kind of hit this pretty heavily already, but, this idea of unlimited tech support, what does that mean?
What does that even truly mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, again, I think the most important thing I'd love to get across to you guys is ask the next question, right? So when you're walking up, talking to people, ask the next question about, okay, great. What does that mean? Right? Go a little bit deeper in that. Fastest printer in the market, right? Like, okay, that very well could be true, but again, at what quality level? Right? Like you gotta
show me in a production setting.
Yeah.
Is this sustainable? Are we tricking the numbers here? We playing games. Give me some references. Hey, there's somebody local that's got the machine. I want to come see it in their production environment. Those types of questions are a good follow up to that.
Yeah. Cheapest consumables. I've seen that a bit. And okay, maybe at face value, that could be true just if you're buying the thing.
Dollars.
Yeah. But okay, how fast can you peel, for example, in a DTF application? Right, time is money, and I think sometimes we lose that fact that we're so focused on the actual dollars and cents and how much does this thing cost me that we forget about the actual cost, the return on investment cost, the time cost. Right. So if you can, maybe spend a little bit more money for a recipe that works consistently over time and instant peel, basically, right? 7 seconds, 8 seconds, instant peel, and you're ready to go.
Production speeds are increased.
Yeah.
Quality. Some other things to look at too. It's not just about the consumable price, obviously. It's, hey, is it OKO-Tech certified, right? We want things to be environmentally safe, especially if I'm selling to power users that require certifications. These are all do I have lead testing, right? Is it, do I have that OKO-Tech certification that gets renewed? These are all things you need to look at. Hey, is in the instance of DTF, is the powder I'm using, is it safe to touch? My operators are going to be interacting with it. So these are all pertinent questions and things you should be asking a digital vendor. Again, it's not just the sticker price, it's the comprehensive recipe and solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we've got many beginners here, but again, I think it just goes back to the reference point that you had before. Do you get this feeling like you're just trying to be sold a box that you can walk away with, or is this a relationship, right? And so, I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, just plug and play. Here's the magic button," right? I mean, there's a ton of amazing equipment on this show floor. I won't deny that at all. But every single one of those pieces of equipment out there has some sort of learning curve, right? And so if you're being told that this is a plug and play solution, hit the magic button, it's worth some more questions, right? And then, the make thousands of dollars in your pajamas, right? Like you don't have to work at it. Well, here's the other part about being in business. You do actually have to get the business in, right? And so where are they helping and supporting in that regard? Again, a partnership should look a lot different than somebody that just wants to make their numbers this month. So.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, right? It's got to be a symbiotic relationship. You both want each other to be successful. So if your digital vendor is just looking at you as a source of revenue, it's not a good relationship, right? We want that to be a two-way street. I want to support you be successful because your success is our success.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Rob, I think what we wanted to do here is kind of get into some looking at this cost of ownership thing a little bit deeper, and dig into it from that cost versus reality kind of situation. And so we've kind of put together some things here. So again, we went back to that first question. What is it that, are we asking right away? How much does it cost? What are my consumable costs, right? And if that's where you stop, sorry about the popping there. You end up with, so you want a really cheap DTF system, for example. You could be in business for $4,500, quote unquote. Okay. I'm going to use air quotes again. But what if a commercial printer, right? And this is on the small end. This is kind of startup situation here, just to give us a reference point, right? So if I were just going on cost, right? Anybody else pick 4,500 over 1,900, right? Like, okay. I know you guys know the answer, but the reality is people do that every day, right? Because they see $20,000 versus $5,000 and I can make that investment, right? But if you don't ask that next question, now you've just given somebody $5,000 that very well could turn into a really nice boat anchor for you to anchor your boat, because you're just throwing money away anyhow. So apparently you have a boat.
I think on that $4,500 system, no screwdriver required.
No
That's what I
screwdriver
heard on that
required.
one.
Yes, okay. So what if we were to look at this a little bit deeper, right? So downtime and head replacement, right? Rob, you mentioned that machines are machines, and there are going to be, you have to factor these things in. So talk to us a little bit about, what that might look like on a smaller system versus, more commercial grade system.
Right. Yeah. So, is your vendor going to give you a preventative maintenance schedule? Because just like anything, right? If I've got a race car, the number one killer is lack of maintenance on something like that. So we teach the preventative maintenance, and that should be a word that they speak to you when you're looking at digital equipment. What is the PM schedule? And do you have a method and process you can show to me? Because this is a clean printer is a happy printer, and there's serviceable parts just like on a car engine, right? I change the oil filter, dampers, tapping stations, motors. These all things, they're wearables, they're consumables. They fail with time. So these are things you need to be looking at. If your vendor isn't saying this to you, they're not speaking the right language, run the other direction.
Awesome. So training curve, spoilage, So I think everybody's making shirts here for the most part, right? Has anybody ever not ruined a shirt? So we do have a few rags, maybe.
Down here in
Yeah,
the front
sorry.
row. Yeah.
I told you I do dad jokes, and they're just bad jokes according to my son. So, all right. So we've all ruined a shirt, right? So there's spoilage. Is that just free money? Is Sanmar just giving you those shirts for free? Right? Probably not. They're in business to make money just like you, right? So we've got to factor some of that stuff in. Production time, cost, right? We talked a little bit about, okay, great. You can have this thing that takes forever, maybe doesn't peel, cold peel, the type of thing in DTF, much longer processes. There's a cost involved in all that. And then this is a cost here that I don't think enough people realize, right? Like our human brain is wired to, let's go find the cheapest thing. Let's go reduce our costs, right? If I'm not making enough profit, the first thing most people want to go to is let's reduce our cost. Yep. But really the first thing you need to do is raise your prices, then get more efficient, and then you can narrow down your costs where you can, right? So flip that mindset. But there's a cost to customer satisfaction. Oh, well, I just, got a cheaper film, for example, in DTF market. Great. And now your customers don't like it because it's plasticky or it doesn't feel the same or doesn't have the peel, right? So anything else on that?
Yeah, I mean, you could go down a lot of different rabbit holes with this. The voice of the customer is the most important thing, right? And that's got to be a guiding principle. So again, looking for a digital vendor, if they're not receiving your feedback, like, hey, I like this or I don't like this, it's probably not the right solution for you, because you want that partnership that's saying, hey, okay, the voice of the customer is important. Maybe I should take note of this, and if it's something we can implement and change, make your life better, which again is impacting your business, making your business successful. That's an important thing, getting back to that two-way street.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about customers that aren't happy. Only a very small percentage actually say anything. Most of them just don't say anything and go somewhere else, right? And so one of the things
the silent exit.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. It's most people want to do that, right? So you understand that, right? That when you make changes inside of your business, you got to think further down the road, and how is this actually going to impact the people that are receiving the product? All right. So there are real costs involved in all these things. And so I just threw together some numbers. Again, I'm starting on just the really small stuff, so we have a kind of comparison realm. Obviously, all the numbers are going to change depending on what equipment it is. This is DTF equipment as an example. I'm assuming that this smaller shop, doing about 10,000 square feet a year. So again, just wanted to kind of get an entry point here, right? So that kind of $4,500 equipment will be on the left, that small commercial equipment in the middle, and then buying transfers without investing in equipment yet is another option that we might not think about enough. So, okay, we saw that. You're looking at, and these were real numbers that I can show you where I got all this stuff from. So there's your costs, right? Of your consumables over the years for doing that much work. Then you've got downtime, head replacement. Then we've got that training curve and spoilage, our maintenance costs. And then here's the kicker, production time, right? As I mentioned, a lot of times the consumable stuff doesn't really factor in as much as we realize. And then customer satisfaction, right? People leaving and making those things. So I know those are kind of some general numbers, but I just want to give people
I think some important things for perspective on this, just to frame this a little bit as well. What we've seen on, hey, that small initial investment system, the $4,500 desktop system. They work great for the first, 10 minutes. And then all these other factors come into play. And it's just an absolute nightmare because there is no preventative maintenance. These systems weren't designed for the viscosity of the ink that you're running through it or the actual solution. Often they're repurposed machines. They slap a label on it and say, oh yeah, it's DTF now because DTF's the trend. These are not good solutions. And for these numbers that Aaron have up here. And I think for me personally, I feel like a lot of this is conservative. I don't know how many different times I take a phone call throughout the week where somebody's just at wit's end, pulling their hair out because they entered the market on a promise with a small non-industrial system, and they've spent weeks and weeks and hours beating their head over this machine trying to fix it. And in reality, as a small business or a hobby business, your number one priority should be on sales and interacting with your customers and growing your customer base. So if I'm spending 30% of my time fighting with a printer just to get a product made, that's generally not a good recipe for success. So
would you do some running again? So you want some more steps? I want to see. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, so what questions do you guys have about this, right? I don't want to throw this up here and just make all these assumptions and you guys go, they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Anybody have a question about what you're seeing up here? Something doesn't sit right with you?
So it's funny on my end. I kind of act as a consultant for contract decorators.
Yeah.
I work with them, help them grow their operations, provide unbiased equipment advice, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I generally tell people around $40,000 a year if you're spending on transfers being printed for you, that's when you should invest into a DTF machine. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yep. I think that's Rob. Would you? I kind of.
I think obviously it's case specific, but I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb in that range. I mean, I don't know if there's a one size fits all dollar value, because I think there's some other intangible things you should be looking at from an operational perspective as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
All right. Any other questions before we keep going here? Okay. All right, Rob. Come on back.
I think this gentleman in the front heard my Caterpillar call earlier.
Oh, he did?
So he's got the cat hat on here.
He worked there for years.
Yeah. Peoria, Illinois. Yes.
All right. So, Rob, what I want to talk about here is just, I guess, when you're looking at some of these numbers here too, you want to explain any of those real quick?
I think this is a really great case study here, and just kind of highlighting some of the breakdown of the numbers of something like a direct-to-film technology. And this should be information your vendor can provide to you. So not only do we have the picture of the image here, you can actually, after this, walk over into our booth, which is right here in the zone, as well as across the aisle here in 686, and check it out, that exact print. It's roughly 1 square foot. So when we break this down, we're looking at about 30 cents per print. And again, this is conservative numbers. This would be like retail pricing, like saying, hey, I'm just buying this off the website with no wholesale pricing or anything like that. What is my press labor? We're looking at 16 cents per shirt with a 15% contingency. I'm doing 100 full color, single-sided t-shirts, obviously not including the price of the t-shirt for somebody like Sanmar. Shout out to Sanmar. Thank you for sponsoring the t-shirts today. for $71.87. So that's all in running the printer, your materials, and your press labor. So I know that's one very scary thing that there's a lot of misinformation about. So if your vendor is providing you clean, concise numbers and can back it up, this comes from one of our customers. This is real world numbers here. This is no fluff. This is what you need to be looking for in the solution.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Excellent. So,
what are we doing on time? What do we got? 5 minutes?
yeah, no, we got more than that. We're all the way till 10.
Oh, we're all the way to
Or
15
11,
minutes.
I guess. Sorry.
All right.
Central time there. All right. So, Nick, let's go into some other questions to ask here then, Rob, if you want to head there. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we've covered this one already, who's supporting me. Let's talk about the supplies and how that works in a partnership, right? Do you offer bulk pricing, subscription programs, things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we talked about who would be supporting me, but also now let's get into, like I said, get into the supplies and stuff like that. So, bulk pricing, right? That's, getting back to one of the core questions everyone asks, what is the price of the consumables? And, I think it's important to note that, hey, as I grow my business, I can grow along with the vendor as well. So meaning, hey, there's tiers and achievable goals to unlock the next level of the ladder or the rung. To get better pricing, right? So with volume and with trust and more business comes increased pricing. So these are things that you should be looking for. It's, hey, somebody that's just an entry level business can't come and get the same pricing as me that's been a customer for 2 years and, I've got 4 of your machines. So I think it's important to have those goals and achievements there, for more you spend, the more you're rewarded and the better that partnership can be.
Okay. All right. And then, yeah, so we talked a little bit about the parts already, where are they coming from? And then the other piece is, as you said before, lightning will strike, right? What's the backup plan? So how would you, look at something like that with a digital vendor?
Well, I'd start by saying you should unplug your printer at night, and that way an electrical storm
Okay.
doesn't take out your printer. So that's
All right.
the first thing I would tell you to do.
Excellent.
But in the event that you, had to rush out of work that day and forgot to unplug your stuff, I would say you would certainly want a team that has a dedicated support line that you can pick up the phone, call someone, troubleshoot those topics with, and say, hey, here's what happened. I think the real nitty gritty of this is, do you have a relationship with the people you're talking to? And I think this is really important because a lot of times, what I've observed in the early days of being in equipment sales is people weren't forthcoming with information because they felt like it was bad information and maybe I didn't want to hear it. And we've really tried to shape the narrative, and that's by building personal relationships one-on-one with our customers is, hey, you want to tell us what's going on. I'm not going to be upset. We want to be your partner in this. The only way we can fix this is getting the right information. And oftentimes, if you don't have that relationship, you probably aren't getting the full story, and it's really hard to diagnose. So I think that's one really important detail to focus on is, are you going to be able to resonate with the people that are supporting you? Super important detail that's often overlooked.
Yeah. Awesome. And then print protection, yeah, you want to talk about that piece too?
Yeah. We talked about uptime earlier. Do they have a print protection or print guarantee or some way to support you in the event lightning does strike? And then, for instance of us, what we typically do is we have a print guarantee where we have the same exact equipment that's sitting in your facility. So somebody, drives a car through your wall and hits your printer, which actually happened to one of our customers, believe it or not. Yeah, drove through and smashed their printer. We can offer a print guarantee, and basically they can have the prints facilitated through us in our headquarters, in our home base, or anywhere in our network. And we can facilitate their business still, and they're not completely shut down. A line down scenario. You go to assembly line plant, building big yellow tractors, you shut that assembly line down, that's bad for everyone. So we never want to shut that down. You can always take orders.
Yeah.
So having that print guarantee or some way to back you up in the event that something does happen, you can always be there and keep your business going.
Cool. All right. Well, want to leave some space for any questions. Any questions for anybody there?
All right.
You're running again, Rob. I'm sorry.
I would just add, from the apparel side, a couple of questions to ask, such as, what's your lowest application temp? How does your ink react with polyester? Is it going to dye migrate? Stuff like that. I think you guys did a great job covering everything else. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's really good stuff to think about. Yeah, cool. All right. Any other closing thoughts for you, Rob? I think we've covered everything we had. But
yeah, no, I think appreciate everybody's participation.
yeah,
And thanks for the great questions.
yeah, great questions.
And if you want to come see us, we're just right on the other side of this wall.
Yep. And I
We
do
do some live demos.
Yep. And I forgot to bring them over, but if you come over there, I do actually have a handout that you can take with a whole list of questions and ROI calculator on it as well. So just
Awesome.
right next door here. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.